With Lucy and Rebecca right around the corner, everyone is asking the same question. Which team is actually the strongest? So I spent the last 2 days calculating every major team variation, different support options and weapon combinations. And honestly, the results were not what I expected. Because while Mornye ended up being the strongest support overall, Shorekeeper and Verina were basically tied. And depending on your weapon choice, Rebecca's weapon might actually be a better investment than Lucy's. So let's go through the numbers. Starting with supports, the highest DPS team overall was unsurprisingly the Mornye variant at roughly 78,000 DPS. Mornye simply provides too many buffs for tune-based teams, so seeing her at the top isn't really surprising. What was surprising, however, was Shorekeeper versus Verina. You would expect Shorekeeper to be significantly ahead, but after accounting for rotation lengths, they're basically neck and neck. The reason comes down to the field time. Shorekeeper's teams deal more damage per rotation, but she also roughly adds 2 extra seconds to every rotation. That extra field time cuts into the advantage enough that Verina is able to keep up, despite the lower total damage. In practice, if both are available, you can honestly just use whichever option is available. This is the DPS for teams with no signatures. This is the DPS for only Rebecca's signature. And this one is the DPS for only Lucy's signature. So now let's talk about weapons, because this is where things get interesting. Across most team setups, Lucy's weapon provides roughly 12 to 15% team damage increase. Rebecca's weapon on the other hand sits closer to a 10% increase. At first glance, that makes Lucy's weapon look the obvious winner. But there's an important detail. Rebecca isn't just providing buffs, she also contributes to a meaningful portion of the damage. So while Lucy's weapon will generally dish out more DPS, Rebecca's weapon can be considered future-proof with more tuned teams when they release. This is the team damage breakdown for the Mornye team, and as you can see, Rebecca does roughly 36% of the team's DPS. So investing into her is a completely viable option, though it won't dish you out the most DPS. So the short version is, Mornye remains the strongest support. Shorekeeper and Verina are much closer than most people will think. And if you're considering options, Lucy's weapon is generally the strongest upgrade, but Rebecca's weapon is still a completely competitive option. Let me know which team you're planning to run once the patch drops, whether you're pulling Lucy, Lucy's weapon, Rebecca's weapon, or skipping entirely.